Sitting at his cluttered desk filling out paperwork, Ed Winslow looked more like an office executive than an officer of the law. In his charcoal suit and nearly matching tie, no one would guess he lived life on the edge, putting himself in danger every day to solve crimes in Michigan's capital city. Chalk another one up for the Lansing Police Department. For Winslow, anyway. Working on the case for 3.5 months, he'd made the long-awaited call yesterday. It was over, the trial to come a mere formality. Bruce Mulholland had, for no apparent reason, turned himself in and made a full confession. Yes, they had their man, and a guaranteed conviction. Still, he couldn't help but wish. No matter what he wished, there was nothing to be done now, nothing to change what had happened, or what was to come. He'd never liked working on this case, not from the moment he'd been assigned to it. The gold pen he held, moving across the page in front of him, stopped. Alerted by a slight sound or movement, or perhaps a sixth sense honed through 20-odd years of police work, he knew he was being watched. Whatever the reason, he looked up, unable to hide his dismay when he saw her in the doorway. Running a hand through his short-cropped brown hair, beginning to show signs of gray, and receding more each day, he rose to his feet to greet her. This was the last thing he wanted to deal with now, but he should have known she'd come. "Mrs. Bentley, this is a surprise." Though his smile welcomed her, he studied her, his thick brows drawn together in thought. "I'm afraid we weren't expecting you today." "Can I see him?" Jess Bentley asked, voice flat, her green eyes dull, almost vacant. Winslow swore she looked right through him. "You said you couldn't identify him, even if we did need your help." "I can't." "Can't what? Identify him?" "I know. Look, why don't you have a seat? I'll get you a cup of coffee and we'll talk." He indicated a pair of worn leather chairs in front of his desk. "I want to see him," she repeated, ignoring his attempt at social pleasantries. Winslow studied her like a germ under a microscope. The last time he'd seen her, at the funeral, she'd been a typical run-of-the-mill widow, dressed in black, hauntingly beautiful. Today there was little resemblance to the woman he remembered. The gray sweatsuit she wore was several sizes too large for her slender frame. Wrinkled, it looked as if she'd had it on for several days, probably the same length of time since her hair had seen a brush. The dirty brown locks tumbled down her back in a tangled mess, and dark circles beneath wide eyes matched thick, sooty lashes, contrasting dramatically with the pallor of her skin. He also sensed a tenseness emanating from her, from the rigid way she held herself as she stood in the doorway, to the desperate way she clutched a floral tapestry handbag to her chest, holding it so tight her knuckles were white. Something was very wrong here. "I don't think that's a good idea, ma'am." "Maybe not, but I still want to." "Why?" "Do I need a reason?" "I think so." Jess Bentley shifted her gaze away from him and let it drift around the room, seeing but not taking in the wanted posters and bulletin board on the wall. The huge window overlooking the busy street below might not have been there, nor the glass wall separating this office from the desks on the other side. What she did notice, and Winslow knew the exact moment she did, was the portrait of his former family,